Every dark and dangerous chocolate city in Baltimore is at the top of the list of every list of dark and dangerous chocolate cities in America. Every one of these cities has a pocket of white people. Sometimes they're gentrifiers. Sometimes they're just people who lived there for a long time. In Baltimore, it's a mixture. It's called Federal Hill. So we're going to see a video here about a guy who was shot in Federal Hill. A couple of fella and his lovely lady were driving around in a car looking for people on the street so they could stop the car, get out, flash a gun, take the money, and get the hell out of there. Usually there's no shooting. This time there was. This time the kid is dead. But check the reaction of the neighbors. Watch how they pretend this is not a regular feature of life in Federal Hill, which is kind of very close to the Inner Harbor. We've done dozens of stories in Federal Hill. I can think of the waitress leaving the tiny little neighborhood restaurant that the people in Federal Hill romanticize as something that really uplifts their life. I can think of the executive from the Baltimore Sun who was beat within an inch of his life. I forget if he died or not, because I often get him mixed up with his single female neighbor who lived about a block away. A few weeks later, she was also beat for the second time in 6 months, except this time she died. This is Federal Hill, where denial, deceit, and delusion has been raised to an art form.
Now, the victim says the teens did steal her cell phone. She still questions why they wanted to attack her for no apparent reason.
It's marvelous, marvelous. That is marvelous news.
In the 1200 block of Riverside Avenue today, you could almost feel a collective exhale. As word spread, police made arrests in the deadly shooting of neighbor Timothy Morricone. The 25-year-old shot outside his front door around dinner time last Thursday.
It's fabulous. I'm glad they did this quickly because I know our entire neighborhood is just so concerned. So I don't know, how did it happen?
Police say it happened in the process of a robbery. That 23-year-old DeAndre Sleet pulled the trigger. 23-year-old Kiara Wesley drove the getaway car. And surveillance video from neighbors helped crack the case.
We were able to get a vehicle description off of some of the surveillance video we had, and officers were able to track down that vehicle, and inside of that vehicle were 2 suspects.
When officers stopped that car last night, police say they also found a gun. Ballistics matched the murder weapon. No one opened the door when we knocked at DeAndre Sleet's address in Southwest Baltimore today, but one man inside did chat through an upstairs window.
We came to ask about DeAndre.
According to court records, in 2013, DeAndre Sleet served time for a cell phone robbery at gunpoint in the city. More prison time in 2017 for a drug conviction in Anne Arundel County. Documents show Sleet attended Poly and in 2010 was put on juvenile probation for urinating in the bottle of a female student. 11 News has also learned DeAndre Sleet previously attended Federal Hill Prep, a school which sits just 2 blocks away from the scene of the deadly shooting he is now charged with. Police say both suspects are being held tonight. They say they've connected both of them to other street robberies in the city and say there is no indication that the 2 suspects and the victim here on Riverside Avenue knew each other.
So I live in Wilmington, Delaware, just 50, 60, 70 miles up the freeway from Baltimore. I live in a neighborhood not unlike Federal Hill. I recognize everybody that appeared in this video. If all these people in video, the neighbors, if you ask them, as I ask my neighbors, people around here, well, what should we do if we catch people? Should we put them in prison? Oh, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to give them a record. We don't want to put them in the system. Can't we sit? I'm not kidding. I've had these conversations dozens of times with people who have been direct and repeated victims or witnesses to black violence and murder right in their own neighborhood. But still, they look at it and they go, no, there's not much we can do about it. What happens to them, they call the cops, are always surprised that the cops tell them just to move to a safer neighborhood. So that's kind of a big mystery to me, why everybody is in such denial, deceit, and delusion about the regular, predictable, and frequent nature of this black-on-white violence in Federal Hill. Well, I suppose acting that way is the best way not to get the black kids angry.